fruits, nuts, and seeds.
Chapati, thank you for teaching us to be healthy.
The energy that I feel with these meals.
Chapati, that was really yummy.
Like a kid with no toys. Health is my greatest joy. Come and see, come and be with our host Chapati.
Hello and welcome to Food with Life. I am your host Chapati, and the question I have for you is, there are three very important elements that keep us happy and full of love in life: air, water, and food. And we have a very special guest here today who can share his wisdom about all three and much more. I want to welcome our revered guest, Kashi,
Namaste.
who's come all the way from India to be here. You know, air, water, and food are so vital. Without any one of them, we wouldn't be who we are. Tell me your views on air and indeed the effect it can have on our well-being, our physiology, our emotions, our mental conditions, and all this.
Yeah. If we look at our life, when life starts, it starts with air. And the day it ends with air. The first act of life we breathe in, and the last act of life we breathe out. And if there's one thing that we do all the time, throughout our whole life, it's breathing. Everything else comes and goes. The clothes we wear change, the food we eat changes, our height changes, our weight changes. So many things change. The skin changes, our whole body changes. Yet the breath is something that's constant in our life. That's like the basis of our life. And
But our breath also changes, yes?
yeah, of course, there is a change in the rhythm of the breath. But the fact that we're breathing is something that makes us alive. And that defines what we are in a certain sense. In fact, when we're feeling differently, our breath changes. When I'm excited, inhalation is more. If I'm really sad, upset, exhalation is more. So in that sense, there's a deep link between what we are, how we feel, and the patterns in the breath. And so in that sense, I feel that breath is something, the air is something that's so important to what we are, which really defines what we are.
Yes, I think air is the most important of the energy forces to keep us who we are. You know, everything in life is our at least going up and down is our mental condition, our psychology, what our emotional condition. Indeed, the breath or the air, what is the effect it has on, first we can talk about our psychology.
In Sanskrit, along with air, the prana is associated.
Prana.
And the word prana itself means life, the electricity that keeps life going. Just like a bulb without electricity doesn't light up.
Right.
In the same way, life without prana is no use. So even though we call it air, there is a subtle energy to it that is much beyond, that really makes our life tick, that makes each of our cells alive. And so at a very mundane level, of course, the air that we are breathing, oxygen, all that is there. Yet there is also a quality to air. You go to some places, you feel, wow, this is so refreshing. And in some other places, it feels, oh, this is not so. There are vibes. You start feeling different with different people in different houses. So along with air, it has a definite impact on not only our physical being, but also our mental and emotional well-being, as you were saying.
So, can we indeed enhance the air? How can we condition the air to have a positive influence or maybe not such a good influence? I know if we, in a room, and we go and breathe smoke,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or some toxic things, the air has not a good effect, you know.
Yes.
And then if we get in a beautiful room with crystal clear air where it's wonderful, where we appreciate the breathing, we feel totally different.
Absolutely.
So I wanted you to discuss with me a bit about this question after we take a break, all right?
Sure.
Okay. I am your host, Chapati. We'll be right back. This is Food with Life with our special guest, Kashi. Stay with us, please. Hello and welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host, Chapati, with our revered guest, Kashi, who's a very knowledgeable person about air, water, and food. So, Kashi, I was asking you a bit about, is there some way we can enhance or make the air better that we breathe, which is so important on our psychology and our emotions and things of this kind?
Absolutely, Chapati. I would say there are two aspects to this question. One, at a physical level, what can we do to purify the air? So, having some plants in our rooms, something that can recycle the air, something that nature does so wonderfully, I guess we can replicate that. Second, of course, not having some of these vices like smoke or something. And the third, very important aspect is mantra.
Mantra.
At a very subtle level,
Can you
chanting
yeah.
purifies the whole atmosphere. When we chant, when we use the mantras, then not only does it have an effect on us, but it has an effect on the space. What we say vibes, vibrations. At a very vibrational level, at a very subtle level, just having some chants, that's why wind chimes or some listening to birds, staying with nature, feels so uplifting, because not only does the physical quality of air change, but also the space in which the vibrations of the space also change just by using different vibrations.
Yes, I think the mantra I know is a meaningless sound.
Yeah.
And I think the mantras or these sounds of chimes or birds, I think from my experience it sets a relaxation to the body.
Yes.
And when the relaxation is there, then you feel wonderful.
Absolutely.
When the relaxation is not there, then we feel cramped,
Yeah.
cramped, a little on the edge.
Uneasy.
Yes. So, tell me a bit about how this air or breathing can affect the emotions, how it can make it better and make us.
Yeah. The air inherently influences the state of our mind. So breathing in different patterns can have a deep impact on our emotions. In fact, traditionally when people are angry, they say take 10 deep breaths, count to 10 slowly. And this is a technique that's been there for ages to take care of one of the emotions, which is anger. Not only that, any of our emotions, if we look at it, when we are sad and upset, if we can just do some rhythmic breathing, then it can make a difference. In fact, in the Yoga Sutras, in the treatises, the aphorisms of yoga, it is said so beautifully that, if I may quote, prachardana vidaranabhyam va pranasya, which means by changing the rhythm of the breath and by breaking the flow of the breath, we can have an impact on our own mind. So ancient times people have known these techniques.
Yes. Now the Yoga Sutras they are what these sayings.
The sayings, the aphorisms, the
short
tips.
sayings of
Sure.
how to guideposts to get
Yeah.
to a higher level of experience. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, can this have a better effect on a holistic level? If you have several people doing this breathing programs, on a regular basis, not only it can change your physiology, yes, and your psychology, but on a level more of a society,
Society.
or a village or a town or something. Share that with me here.
So I would say that each of us has a sphere of influence. Um, how we feel influences the space around us, the people around us. We get into a room full of happy people and suddenly it makes us feel joyful too. So in that sense, to a certain extent, our mindset influences everyone around us. The more we develop it, the more powerful we become using some of these breathing techniques. We can definitely make our sphere of influence much larger. And when groups of people get together, it creates resonance. Just like ordinary light is just all the waves at different frequencies. But when you put them all together, and it becomes a laser, which is so much more powerful.
So it is more like a group consciousness of some type.
Yeah.
And this can, if we have a collective people doing this on a basis of regularity,
Yeah.
it could make a big difference in society. Yeah.
It's amazing how it makes a difference. In fact, I have been teaching all these practices for so long, and I have seen the transformation that happens in societies. Um, if I may say, we were actually able to get two villages which were fighting with each other to come together in harmony just by doing these breathing practices.
We can talk more about this. Okay, we take a break. I am your host Chapati with our special guest Kashi. This is Food with Life. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello once again and welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host Chapati and we're here with our very special guest, Kashi. We were talking a bit about on a society and on this collective consciousness. How can it be that we can actually implement this into on a bigger level than just perhaps 50 or 100 people? Communities, villages, towns, states, maybe countries, and on the political side, so people begin to have this as part of their daily practice.
Absolutely. I feel one of the best ways of getting through is through the schools, through our youth.
Schools.
As long as a child, when I'm growing up, if I can have this awareness of the right way of keeping my air clean, keeping my food clean, I guess that's going to go a long way. So we are doing a lot of programs with youth as part of our Art of Living Foundation, which I represent. And it's been very satisfying because at that age is the age when the mind is ready to learn, to experience new things and to follow new things. And also I feel that through community outreach and through the media like we are doing right now,
Yes.
I think we can really make a big difference to society, not only in terms of individuals but as collective units of people living together, whether it's a community or whether it's a city or a state. I think it can make a big difference. And
So-
also I would say at a political level, when there is a will, when everyone wants to see that change and be sustainable, I see society automatically leading towards this as people realize it. Like I have seen, for example, how organic food has caught on simply because it's something that's really good for the system, and then the government also in a certain way supports it in the sense by labeling the foods in the right way and things like that.
Yes. So speaking on a more societal level, I see all these, sometimes I see on the paper or I watch the news TV, and you see a problem in this part of the world or a problem here or some negative thing happened and so forth, So I'm wondering, that comes from because of maybe a lack of education, So, indeed, how can, on a one-to-one level, how can this get rid of what I feel is the root of, which is stress? How can this breathing practice cut to the root of this expansion of darkness, if you will, to get to the stress, which is the core of what causes a lot of this problem?
Problems, right? So I would say that there is a saying in Hindi which says "boond boond se sagar banta hai," which means that an ocean is created from drops. So even though there is a lot of thing that needs to get achieved, it starts with the individual. If I can breathe well, if I can take care of the state of my own mind, eventually it's going to percolate to the whole of society. So for me, as an individual, each one of us needs to take that responsibility, knowing that I am part of this society and the state of my mind is going to affect the collective consciousness too. So yeah.
So it's our individual, it starts with us,
Exactly.
our individual. It starts with you at home, starts with me here, or you here, and then us, I guess, coming together.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. You know, I know to get it out to the groups, the people live their lives according to laws, political laws, natural laws, but I'm thinking more of natural law, you know, and how we can get the politicians to indeed begin to take this program onto their discussions, and where it can be implemented on a big level, you know. So not one person does it, not two person, but thousands of people do it, and they do it together. Any suggestions here?
I would say the good people, those who really want to see the change, you need to take up politics. Maybe you go talk to your senator, talk to the people who govern you.
Government, yes.
Yeah. And I guess getting the message across is the first step in this path.
Okay. We're going to take a break, and then we can come up with maybe some answers on how we can put this into action.
Sure.
I am your host, Chapati. Stay with us. This is Food with Life with our very special guest, Kashi. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Food with Life. I am your host Chapati with our very special guest, Kashi, who's come all the way from India to discuss some brilliance about who we are. So we were talking a bit about getting into politicians and on a big level, so we can actually see a change in not only our individuals but in society. So there must be some groups or some organizations that maybe are trying to make this happen.
Yes.
Any information you can share with us here?
So I would talk from my personal experience. I have been with the Art of Living Foundation for the last 20 years now, and I have been implementing some of these programs as I go across various countries around the globe. Art of Living is an organization that's spread over around 152 countries around the globe.
Wow.
And we have programs for youth, for children, for adults. We tailor make programs for corporates, for communities. And these programs, which we call the Art of Living, it's about the art of living. How do I make my life an art as compared to just existing?
Yes.
Everyone lives, but if I could, anyone given a guitar can make some sound,
Yes.
but a musician can produce music out of it.
Right.
So if you want music out of our life, I would say art of living. That's
Art
the
of
way to
living.
go.
Very interesting. We'll have to look into the art of living. So they're bringing the color into what people go through every day. They can maybe, perhaps this technique can make something that is not such a good thing, turn around and flip it to something which we see a different way,
Yeah.
a different view.
I would say it's like many of us get bogged down by our stresses,
Yes.
by all the things that we have to go through, and it just gets released over a period of time, but it takes too long.
Yes.
If there's some technique that could do it quickly and get us back to normal, so I would like to say that our stresses are like a line drawn on paper,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a little effort to erase it. But if they become like a line drawn on water, which stays hardly any time, just as the water flows, it washes it away.
Oh,
So, in that sense, if we can learn to handle our own stresses, then this world can be a better place.
interesting idea. A line on water. When you put your line, the water goes back. You'd have no idea the line is there.
Yeah,
So interesting. The impressions don't
Quite
stay,
yeah,
because probably because you strengthen the nervous system in some way.
Mhm.
Yes,
yeah.
something to this effect. So on the schools, let's say schools when we're children,
Mhm.
what types of things can we do for children at home to take back, or maybe to share with the mothers and fathers?
Yeah, I would say for children, the best thing is to give them that innocence. Somewhere I feel with so much information, innocence is lost. And uh, getting back to that innocence, we have a very beautiful course called the Art Excel, all round training in excellence.
Art excel. Mm-hmm.
Now, many people want their children to excel, but we don't really provide the tools. In school, we learn physics, chemistry, maths, but we never learn how to handle our own mind.
Ah,
If that education can start early on, I guess that would solve so many of the world's problems today.
yes, it's a big issue. Handling ourselves and handling others, and others handling themselves, and interacting. I read the paper and I see these situations that are going on with different countries, and I say, gosh, if they only knew this or this or this, they could avoid this or this or this problem or that condition. So if there's some way that we could have the government to open their ears and say, yes, there's something here. What do you think would be a way that you could do this, to say to the government, look what we have?
Yeah. Well, I guess this is one form of saying through you, Chapati. You have a very popular show. Maybe there's someone out there listening, and I usually say it's like a farmer throws the seeds out, and throwing the seeds is the farmer's job.
Mm-hmm.
But the seed, whether it will sprout or not, depends on the ground where it's fallen. So I do this. Through all the media that's available to me, through all the manner that's available to me, I just shout it out. I say,
Shout it
"Hey."
out.
And maybe each one of us on this show, watching this show, could also do the same thing. Maybe spread the word, and who knows where someone or sometime could possibly make a difference.
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. Shout it out, and as I say, open your heart, and everything will flow easy. Well, I want to thank you so much for being our guest here on Food with Life.
Pleasure.
It's more than a blessing to have you, and we see you soon, we hope, somewhere.
Sure.
I am your host, Chapati. Thank you very much for watching Food with Life. Have a look at Art of Living, and open your eyes and ears, and things can happen. We'll see you very soon. I am your host, Chapati. Take care, be well, and be happy. This is Food with Life. Bye-bye.
see.